One thing that I have learned with flying a drone is that it's not if I will crash it, but when I would crash it. And that happened to me for the first time a couple months ago. If you want to see that video, I can point you toward it on the internet. But knowing this will likely happen to drone pilots, the manufacturer of my particular drone offers a plan where they will replace the drone if you crash it, if you've bought the plan. I didn't buy the plan. But what is interesting about the program is that they don't just fix the drone that you crash. They replace it with a completely brand new one. We'll come back to this in a little bit. In Romans 12, verse 1, where Paul references God's mercy, he precludes those words by saying, therefore, or in light of, if you will. The remaining of verses 1 and 2 go on to instruct the reader or the listener what to do and how to act. But what they are instructed to do is only in light of God's mercy. What is that? What's going on here? What is this God's mercy that Paul is referencing here? Paul is referencing the rescue mission that Jesus enacted on our behalf. When we broke away from God's life and our life crashed, God sent his son, Jesus, to take on human flesh. But in doing so, Jesus encountered the inadvertent consequences of people who have separated themselves from God. Rather than recognizing Jesus as God and their distorted view and humanity's distorted worldview, we view Jesus as a threat. And those in Jesus' day, when he was walking on the earth, felt the same way, which eventually led to them killing him. But 3 days later, Jesus arose to life. But something was different this time. This time, Jesus didn't just have the typical fleshly human experience that you and I know of. Rather, Jesus arose with a glorified human body. Jesus wasn't just given his life back in repaired form. Rather, Jesus was given his life back in glorified form, renewed form, if you will. Something far better than it was before. An eternally fitted body. In 1 Corinthians 15, verse 40, Paul says this, the splendor of the heavenly bodies is one kind, but the splendor of the earthly bodies is another. So meaning, your earthly body is one kind, and a heavenly or glorified body, like we see Jesus resurrected with, is something very different. This wasn't just a repair job, it was a transformation or something new that came about. This is a heavenly life that isn't subject to death anymore. That's the biggest difference. And it's this new life that God offers to each and every one of us who would unite our life to the life of Jesus. Indeed, we felt we had received the sentence of death, Paul says in 2 Corinthians 1, verses 9 through 10. But this happened that we might not rely on ourselves, but on God, who raises the dead. He has delivered us from such a deadly peril. There's that path leading to death that was mentioned earlier. Paul goes on to say in Romans chapter 6, verse 4, we were therefore buried with him through baptism into death, in order that just as Christ was raised from the dead through the glory of the Father, we too may live a new life. A new life. Not a repaired life, a new life. United with Christ's death and baptism, trusting God to raise us to new life like he did for Jesus.